Thoughts, feelings, courage, oh my. Probably reminded you of lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. It's very pertinent. We can become addicted to our thoughts and be led by our fears because of those thoughts and feelings and the courage it takes to move forward from those things. My intention for this year was Dare to Lead, based on Brene Brown's book with the same title. For me, part of that daring to lead, I want to follow my own tagline, empower your mind and muse. And to do that, it's about living big. I did a mindful minute last month about living big. Living big is boundaries, integrity, and generosity. In Brene's book, it's about being brave, being honest, and an open heart. So for me, it kind of follows the same thing about living big. But I wanted to expand on that a little bit and why it's so important to me. The reference to the Wizard of Oz is because that was my path to spirituality. Oftentimes, when we're questioning life or looking for things that we can hold on to, and when bad things happen, a lot of us question if there's a God. And I went through a period of time of doing that myself. I didn't honestly believe in a lot of those things. So I naturally or subconsciously or consciously, however it happened, the Wizard of Oz started to play into my life a lot through a lot of synchronicities. And so then I started studying the author and the history behind that Wizard of Oz. It's so absolutely incredible that it can be used today. And I've used it in my path of 12-step recovery. My 12-step recovery has been in codependency and Al-Anon. My biggest addiction has been the addiction to my thoughts and feelings. And I went through a period of time with a binge eating disorder. How it really started is that when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I started to deal with some childhood PTSD. And in the turn of events and how the Wizard of Oz really came into play for that was I had a reoccurring nightmare of the person that inflicted most of my fear. Their face was the Wicked Witch, and it was always the scene in the movie with the crystal ball, I'll get you, my pretty. And so, just through all of the process, I learned to integrate the Wizard of Oz, that fun, whimsical music and childlike wonder, into my life and progress forward. Didn't mean my life was any easier, but I did do a lot of recovery around it. The difficulty with codependency recovery is there's often not a lot of tangible things that you can hold on to because it boils down to your thoughts and feelings and behaviors that were constructed early on in our life. And it's also about how society treats relationships, is that you enmesh with someone, they become your better half. And the truth is, it's about being whole And the empowerment of the mind and muse is my way of trying to help empower others to want to change their path in life to empowerment. Move beyond the anxiety and the worry and the sequential depression that happens, especially with codependency and addiction to the thoughts. So, what I've been working on the most this last month is the boundaries. Boundaries are tough. When you're a kind and generous person and loving, you can often feel mean if you're laying down a boundary. But when you start looking at yourself as a person that you need to take care of or care about or be a little bit more compassionate about or trying to change your addictive thoughts, boundaries are a saving grace. And yes, again, they are so tough, especially because that's been the survival mechanism most of your life. So, mindfulness and why it's mismindful is the mindfulness has finally helped me put into action the boundaries, the integrity, and my generosity to help me feel balanced, because the mindfulness put me in this space of being in the present moment, checking in with myself and not judging myself. I had to learn to give myself a lot of self-compassion. And I hope if you follow this journey with me, you might find the same thing. Early on, I talked about being a mindful misfit. And that mindful misfit isn't really a misfit at all. It's a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. In doing a lot of research, New Age, which isn't really so New Age anymore, New Age was really, really popular back in the 70s. And that encompasses all those things that we often have an interest in: astrology, yoga, tarot, higher power, a different kind of spirituality, divine oneness, the law of attraction, all of those realms of things that have been integrated over from Eastern into Western. But for some reason, when you get beyond reading your horoscope every day, people tend to look at you as being crazy or a misfit or not fitting in. But a mindful misfit is one who fits in with themselves. They don't need the externals as much as they need the internals. I have the perfect playground for being a mindful misfit. Most of my jobs have been very structured, more Western world, but all the rest of my life relies more on Eastern principles. And with the practice of making mindfulness my lifestyle, I don't have to fit into anything else other than what I believe about myself. That's the greatest gift towards happiness that you can give yourself. So that's my check-in. I'm daring to lead, and I hope you want to come along too. Namaste, love and light.